code AFTVIFL1 and save 15% off any order at footlocker.com.
For a couple years now, people with those red envelopes from Netflix have had the option of streaming video from the internet using their Play Now service. Recently, about a year and a half ago, Roku came out with a box specifically designed for streaming Netflix to your TV. Now today they've updated the box and actually released two new versions, one that is a little bit worse for $79, which does SD-only streaming, and one that's a little bit better, which has a USB port and 802.11n Wi-Fi, so it's a little bit quicker on the Wi-Fi side. The bigger question I have here is, what are we doing with cable boxes still? When is internet streaming going to take over? To talk about that, we bring in a couple technology journalists. First off, Joel Evans from Geek.com. Joel, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Also, Clayton Morris from Fox News. Clayton, thanks for being with us as well.
Hey, Randall. Thanks for having me.
It's, I've been looking forward to the day when I can finally only have my internet bill instead of having, the triple play or whatever they want to call it. Joel, what's keeping you on cable? What do you think internet streaming needs to do to really take off? And is this Roku box part of the answer?
I think to a certain extent this Roku box is part of the answer because of its 802.11n support. I think that's been a big piece of it is depending on the speed of your home connectivity, the bottleneck will then be, once the pipe gets in, how you're actually going to stream it over wirelessly. So starting on N is a good way to go. I think that the providers need to kind of band together and start offering a solution that makes sense next.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, like a lot of content providers don't have their content on the internet, and I'm not saying that I'm not willing to pay for content. I'm definitely I want to find a cable company for the internet where they just bundle Discovery Channel and ESPN and whatever I want together, and then buy it from them or whatever. I don't know, Clayton, what's your take on internet streaming?
I love it, but then again, I think we are probably in the sphere of being early adopters. I mean, I just have, here's the new Roku XR, which is, of course, the higher end version, the $130 version.
Right? No.
HD-XR. I don't know. To answer, I think what Joel was talking about is true. There are some parts of this that are exciting, but again, I think we don't have an option yet. I think it's still a way station on the way to a better device. You have Roku, so you can get Amazon. They're about to launch a channel, the Roku Channel Store, which is coming soon. But again, there needs to be some sort of cable tuner in there. If my parents want to jump online and watch American Idol, they want to watch that live. They want to have that experience, and they want to be able to do it all in one device. When I say Roku to my parents, they kind of give me a weird eyebrow raise.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, there's definitely some other issues too. Like, for instance, you need to have one of these boxes per TV, whereas with cable, cable, they kind of gouge you for those set-top boxes as well, but it's like $10 a month or whatever. Right. So there's still some of those, things that don't quite match up. And Joel, we've seen Netflix for the better part of a year now, maybe a little bit over a year, and people have been kind of grabbing onto it. Is that content providers that you think is lacking, or you mentioned the technical standards are kind of out of the way. So what on the content side needs to change for you?
Well, I think the technical standards are kind of out of the way. It's probably the best way of putting it. Like, I have an Apple TV. I hacked it with Boxee, and for a while I was enjoying streaming Hulu. And I have, the ultra-fast Cox high-speed ultimate connection, or I can't remember what it's called, but it's their top-of-line one.
Yeah.
The super-duper, unbelievable, 50 down type scenario.
Yeah.
And now the bottleneck seems to be inside my house still, and I have an N router, and the streaming just isn't there. But if you think about it, Hulu is supposed to move to a paid model to a certain extent starting next year. So one would bet that you're going to start seeing either a Roku branded box for Hulu or a Hulu box or something like that, and I think you'll start seeing much more adoption at that point. It's still going to take a while for people to let go of the cable box, though. I think it's just too ingrained in our culture.
I mean, Clayton, we've seen Boxee off and on. They're kind of a fixture of the New York tech scene. They're always showing up at all these events and doing these different things. What do you think of Boxee? Do you think that's sort of the answer, or it's the software solution you put on whatever computer you want? Is that too complex, or what's your take?
I think, again, it needs to be ease of use for people. Again, I come back to my parents, and the viewers that I talk to, I'm still surprised that they've never even heard of Hulu. I mean, now we've got a few years. We had Super Bowl commercials, for crying out loud. Boxee's a great program, great software. But again, to Joel's point, I don't know. There's still some jankiness in all of this that we need. I think one great example of the Netflix integration, though, is on Xbox Live.
Definitely.
I love my Roku box. Don't get me wrong, but being able to have one multimedia device that the family can gather around, jump in access to Netflix content, jump over to a Blu-ray movie and watch a movie, but then also have that cable experience and that live television experience. That's what's missing from all of this.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess the best bet, maybe then, the PS3 is going to be getting Netflix soon for about $10, they're saying. PS3 is kind of becoming this multimedia powerhouse. I guess, I mean, last question, I guess, what's the price? I mean, $99 for the Roku to me was like, wow, this is the first affordable streaming device. Joel, I mean, how much do you think this box needs to cost?
Yeah, I think about $100 makes the most sense. And I think, I actually think we're going to see something with Apple TV. It's kind of, the world is waiting for it. They keep expecting it. It hasn't come out. It's been a few years now. And Apple just keeps teasing, drops off the lower end device, puts 160 gig in or whatever the latest move was. But the Apple TV really could be perfectly positioned, especially since people are just used to buying everything Apple.
Yeah, it just have to do some actual streaming instead of having to hack the crap out of it to make it work right.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll sync beautifully with iTunes eventually. And, from there you'll pay a subscription to have access to X amount of channels, and I think you'll start seeing a competitor to the cable box.
I think a lot of content providers are a little bit weary just because Apple has that stranglehold in the music industry, and that's the reason why they created Hulu realistically, is because they didn't want to see iTunes again, have someone else create it for them. Clayton, I mean, what's that magical price point for you?
I think $99 is a great price point. I think we saw that with like the iPhone 3G. A flood of people still wanting to buy this older phone, not even worry about the 3GS. But again, to Joel's point, I mean, I just came from a media briefing literally right before the show with Apple, and looking at the 27-inch iMacs and going through some of the specs again, and the quad core, and seeing how beautiful this display is. And you can tell that Apple's moving in a more, in a multimedia direction with a longer remote and being able to have a wall mountable display. And
27-inch iMac, I mean, that's like pretty much a TV at that point, so.
It is.
Yeah,
I want that on my wall.
Yeah, exactly. Well, guys, we're going to leave it there. Hopefully we'll see some media streaming soon. Joel Evans from Geek.com, thanks for being on the show. Also, Clayton Morris from Fox News, thanks for being on the program as well.
Thanks, Randall.
I'm Randall Bennett. Don't forget, you can catch us on iTunes, we're on YouTube, and we stream live at techv.com in case you didn't get that memo. Thanks to our sponsor, GoToMeeting. You can get them for 30 days for free by heading to gotomeeting.com/techpodcasts. They'll hook you up there. See you later.